And we are back as we continue our episode looking at the green phase. Montour and Snyder counties are now in the green phase and have been so for 4 days. We're taping this on Tuesday. And we are joined today by Rick Schuck from Box Tavern in Selinsgrove. And Rick, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Chris. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, Rick, so you are, this will be day 5 today of being in the green phase. And how has it gone? How the first 4 days gone so far?
Well, Chris, I don't know whether you're aware of it or not, but you're correct. Last Friday, Snyder County could go green. And I know many area businesses did, many businesses, bars and restaurants like Bots. However, it was our choice, Chris, to still continue to operate under the takeout model only. And we're going to be doing that for the short term. I would imagine we will open for dine-in, drinking-in services probably in early June, in probably a week or so. But we've been continuing with our takeout model. One of the rationales behind that is, I knew the CDC guidelines. They had been out there for quite some time. And even prior to Snyder County going green, I researched a lot of other states that had already gone, quote, green. And some of the guidelines imposed, not just by the CDC, but their own states, and also some bars and restaurants' best practices. And when I saw those requirements, I knew they were going to be extensive, and I knew it was going to take some due diligence and a challenge to meet them and exceed them, which is our goal at Box Tavern. Plus the fact then, even though Snyder County went green on Friday, we didn't get the final regulations from the state until Thursday afternoon. And there were a lot of boxes to check. And I felt, when we do open Box, when Box goes green, I want to make sure we've checked all those boxes. So we're taking a cautious, conservative approach for the safety of our patrons, employees, and our community, that when we open at Box, we're going to be doing everything possible to make a safe environment for those who patronize us in the community around us.
So you have, and first off, I admire your discretion. That's admirable. You obviously have kept yourself very educated in this whole process. And did that involve a lot of time on your part?
It did. I mean, not only, the news media following it, but I Googled a lot of things. Like I said, I researched other states that had gone green prior to parts of Pennsylvania, not just in terms of regulations, how states are regulating it, but again, bar and restaurant best practices, what they were doing to be compliant and maybe exceeding any guidelines in terms of safety, sanitization, and things of that nature. I researched a lot, Chris, and I take the challenge to keeping our communities and our employees and our patrons very seriously.
So what are some of those boxes that need to be checked, and what other things do you still need to do yet till you feel comfortable being green?
Well, the boxes, some of them are very, very obvious. I mean, the social distancing, tables, chairs are to be 6 feet apart, obviously. If not, they must be separated by a barrier. Well, there were a few occasions in Bots where I'd already pretty much separated our tables. I knew the 6 feet was going to be a regulation. That was CDC, that's been out there. But then there were some places in the bar that I thought it'd be safer if we put some barriers. So actually we had to construct some barriers, which were just completed yesterday, by the way. Had proper sanitary supplies, but I thought I better load up, because when other parts start to go green, those sanitary supplies that are scarce now are only going to be more in demand and probably more difficult to get. We're going a disposable model. We're going to go to disposable silverware, plastic forks, spoons, knives, individually wrapped in plastic, disposable cups. We're going to serve most of our food in baskets with basket liners. To, I think, avoid the contact of, are those utensils clean? Is that glass clean? Pretty much anything a customer touches in Box is going to be disposed of. We're going to go to one menu in plexiglass per table that people at a table can share a menu and order off of that rather than throwing 5 or 6 menus down on the table that would all have to be sanitized. And then are people going to be comfortable with those menus going to another table? Things like table caddies, ketchup and mustard containers, carrying them from table to table. I'm thinking, at least in the short term, Chris, those days are gone. People are going to get ketchup in a souffle cup or a little packet like you might in a fast food restaurant. We are going to probably exceed any guidelines that are out there.
Wow. It's always interesting to hear that someone say those days are gone.
Short term, I hope. I hope it's only short term.
Okay. Yeah. How long, once you do go green, I guess it's kind of hard to guesstimate or even try to figure out how long you're going to be in green. I guess you plan on just being on it in it for the foreseeable future, right?
Right. And from what I've understand from the guidelines from Pennsylvania, that the green phase will remain with restrictions for the foreseeable future, which is bars and restaurants and many businesses are limited to 50% capacity. The whole social distancing, at least employees, and it certainly will be the case in our business, will be masked. And those restrictions, so to speak, for the green phase are going to be in existence for the foreseeable future, according to state health authorities, that green is not going to be the old green. It will be green with restrictions and safety precautions, which for the foreseeable future, I totally agree with.
Is your business sustainable in a green phase?
That's a good question. I guess that remains to be seen because, as I said in my research, you hear a lot of business owners across the country who have reopened, and bar and restaurant tavern associations have said that, you know, it's challenging in the bar and restaurant business and many businesses to be viable and stay open and thrive with 100% capacity. And now we're limited to 50% capacity. And as I mentioned, Chris, all the sanitary precautions we're going to take, the sanitary supplies to keep the place clean, disposable product, those are additional expenses. You know, glasses and silverware and plates, you can wash and reuse countlessly. Plastic cups and silverware, they get thrown away and you have to buy more. So I see in the short term, again, I hope it is short term, but it's foreseeable future, that our expenses are going to go up. And our revenue, if you're only at 50%, is probably not going to be what it once was. So we will have to be very creative in managing staff, in managing cost, in redesigning our menu, probably price increases. I know I researched some states, restaurants or places are adding COVID surcharges to their bills. I don't think you're going to see that at Box Tavern, but I wouldn't be honest if I were sitting here and say you won't see price increases, or we may not make it, and I don't know that other businesses would either.
So you've been doing takeout since back in March. Did you shift right away to takeout?
We did not. We started takeout May 15th. So we actually took a break. We were shut down the day before St. Patrick's Day. I think it was the 16th or 17th of March. And we kind of surveyed the land, so to speak, and we started takeout about 2 weeks ago. It was Friday, May 15th. And that's been going well. And quite honestly, I'm pleased with the feedback we've received since Friday when we could have gone green. I anticipated, we're a local bar, everybody knows me, I anticipated some pushback. Why aren't you green, Rick? Why can't we come in and eat tonight? Why can't we stop and have some drinks? And certainly there was some of that. But our takeout patrons over the weekend and through last evening when we offered takeout, 90% of them said, Rick, we appreciate you doing it the right way. We appreciate you taking the cautious approach. We appreciate you not, crawling before you walk, walking before you run. And, we'll be back when you do go green, and we're very comfortable with you making that decision on your own time frame. So I was very grateful for that.
How difficult was that for you to shut down on the 16th of March?
Uh, it was difficult, but, I actually anticipated it. I had a staff meeting with our staff, Chris, probably late April, maybe very early March, when in terms of Philadelphia, there were primarily only cases in Philadelphia and the counties surrounding Philadelphia. It had not, I don't know that there was a case in central Pennsylvania at the time. And I actually had a staff meeting with my staff and told them about this coronavirus. And I had eyes rolling. They were like, this is no big deal, Rick. This is in Philadelphia. It's not anywhere near us. And I just said, I've been researching it a lot. My wife works in healthcare. She works at Evangelical. She's the director of development there. And I said, it is real and we will be impacted. To what degree, I don't know, but we will be impacted. And wow, I hate to say it, but I think I was right. And I remember the Monday before our shutdown, we were shut down Monday evening. My rep from the Daily Item called me and said, Rick, can you place your ad for the following weekend's dinner specials? And I said, I don't think I want to place an ad because I don't think we're going to see the weekend. And lo and behold, the next day we were ordered to shut down. So I had kind of seen it coming. There was a thought in my eye that maybe Governor Wolf would let us get through the bars and restaurants St. Patty's Day. But then there was also probably the prudent thought on their part that St. Patty's Day would be a zoo in the bars and restaurants. And that's exactly what they wanted to prevent. So we were shut down the day before St. Patty's Day. And it was difficult, a lot of uncertainty among employees, especially about when are we going to reopen, can we reopen? And as you know, that was a 2-week shutdown, which obviously has been seriously extended since then. There was some optimism that maybe in 2 weeks things would be drastically different, but I don't think that was a realistic outlook. And so we went from there, but it was difficult.
Yeah, because how many employees are we talking about with you, and how difficult was that for you to tell them to shut down?
We're rather small, but between our part-time and what I'd call full-time staff, when you consider we have people who work our door every night for ID purposes, because we do get a significant amount of young patronage, probably 8 to 10 people. And, that's not a boatload of employees, but in terms of the personalization of it, you are kind of like a family then. You see these same 8 to 10 people every day, and you do share the emotions and the challenges and the stress of when are we going to open? How long are we going to be closed? Do I file for unemployment? Do we get the PPP loan? All those questions and issues come to the forefront.
So when you do come back, you have a takeout menu now. And how were you? Sure. Did you pretty much establish what would be easiest to make as far as takeout? Was that the thinking there?
Absolutely, because Box really was not a takeout shop. I know there's a lot of businesses, it's easy to say the pizza shops that deliver and sub shops that do a lot of takeout. That was never our model. So when we entered into that world pretty much exclusively, that's exactly what we did, Chris. We looked at some of the more easier, quicker items to prepare. Quite honestly, you look at inventory you have on hand, because if you're not making money but you have product in your freezer that is good, let's sell that product, because that product has been bought and paid for, rather than bringing in additional inventory at additional expenses. So we crafted a takeout model of 11 very popular items, and it's been going well. Our wings are very popular. That's on there. Burger, quesadilla, cheesesteak. Quick and easy, simple things. And the feedback and the patronage has been very good, and I'm grateful for that.
So do you know yet what your hours will be when you go green?
That's a good question. Those are the kind of thoughts I'm formulating now. And again, another reason why, hey, okay, you can go green Friday. What does that mean? Uh, I'm sure we'll have reduced hours and perhaps reduced days of business. We used to be Monday through Sunday, 7 days a week. We probably have closed bots 2 or 3 days a year. That's it. We're not 360, not 24/7, 365, but the doors at Bots are generally open 360 days a year, and we do ordinarily operate Monday through Sunday. I foresee, without knowing exactly what our days and hours would be, probably initially opening 3 or 4 days a week. Uh, in Pennsylvania, we're able to stay open and serve until 2 a.m. I don't foresee that. I probably foresee an earlier closing time. Normally we open around 4, and in the past we would close at 2 o'clock if business is warranted. Now I probably see us probably closing 10, 11, midnight, but I haven't honed in on what days those will be and what exact hours, but certainly that's something I'm working through.
Now, I've never been to Boss before, I'm sorry to say. I'm a Danville
Okay.
boy, but I'm going to come down there. Do you have outdoor space you can take advantage of?
We do. We have an outdoor deck. Now it's not huge. Uh, and actually, in anticipation of this, about a month ago, in anticipation of us going green at some point, a month ago, I didn't realize when that would be. I approached our borough in Selinsgrove and asked them to approve outdoor seating in the front of our building, which had never been approved or even we never even applied for it before. And the borough worked really well with me. A lot of times, those zoning ordinances and things like that can take some time, and there's some hoops to jump through. But with the help of some council members who I know personally and are patrons of Bots, uh, the borough expedited that process and approved us outdoor seating in the front of our building. We are now in the process of getting that license through the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board for alcohol service. So yes, we'll have outdoor seating in the front of our building and on our rear deck. But even though you're outdoor seating, that seating has to comply to the 6 foot distancing between tables. So the seating on our deck will have outdoor seating, but that will be limited as well because you have to have your tables 6 feet apart.
Wow, all these things to consider as you're moving forward. It's tough enough being a business person, but then to have all these hurdles to jump through, I imagine that's just a daunting task.
It is. It's a lot. It's a lot to think through. My wife and I have spent a lot of time talking about how are we going to do this, how are we going to do that, is that going to work, is this going to work? As I'm sure every other business that's reopened or about to reopen is doing. Uh, and you try to look at it from the top to bottom, from the left and the right, and you give it your best shot. And like I say, our goal is when we do open, that we're going to meet and exceed any guidelines or regulations that are out there.
Okay, so finally, all this business stuff removed. I mean, you're dealing with a lot of stuff to begin with that. How are you, Rick, dealing with this whole situation personally?
Uh, it's a it's it's a difficult time for sure, uh, because obviously you have concern about the long-term viability of your business, which is a significant investment on the part of my wife and I. Between the two of us, my wife and I have 5 kids. They're all grown adults, but a couple of her sons are in hotspots, Los Angeles and New York City. Uh, and your primary concern is your business. My wife and I, the health and safety of our children, our own personal health and safety. And, we take very seriously that, when we open our business to the public, the health and safety of our patrons, of our employees, and the community at large. It's something we take very seriously. We're not like, hey, yeah, let's just open because we can open today. I think we have a higher responsibility than that. And it's been challenging, but, I hope and I feel confident when we do open that when people come to Box, they will feel like, you know what, there's no guarantees out there, but this place is trying to do it right.
Well said. I imagine it's going to be stressful at first once you go to green, but
Oh,
at
yeah.
some point you might become comfortable with the way things are going.
Yes, and I've said that to my employees. My wife and I have talked about this. Uh, at least in the short term, there has to be, a level of consumer confidence. There has to be a willingness on people's part to say, I want to go to the mall. I want to get my nails done, my hair done. I want to go out to eat. And, as a business owner, all you can do is provide the safest environment possible for them. And then you have to understand that there may be those people, especially people in the vulnerable populations, the elderly, or people with pre-existing conditions. They may choose not to come out. And we certainly will continue to offer takeout for those folks. And hopefully the day will come, whether it be therapeutics or a vaccine or whatever, where this will be all behind us. But in the short term, you got to respect everybody's personal situation and how they handle this virus and the challenges to it. And, it's an individual decision.
Rick Schuck, rather, sorry, Rick
That's
Schuck,
okay. I've been called
owner of
worse.
Box Tavern in downtown Selinsgrove. Thank you very much for your time today, and good luck as you move ahead into the green phase.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Okay. And that's going to do it for this episode of In Your Neighborhood Special Series, Conversations on COVID-19. I'm your host, Chris O'Rourke. Thanks for joining us, and stay safe out there.